Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Gainsight CEO Nick Mehta.
Who's excited? Who's fired up? Who still gets teary-eyed every time they think of Ross and Rachel's first kiss? Just me, maybe, I guess. Welcome, Pulse 2017. So excited to have you all here. Now, the reason this says Welcome Pulse 2017, not Welcome to Pulse 2017, is you are Pulse 2017. If you haven't been to Pulse before, Pulse isn't a conference you come attend and learn from. It's a conference where you make the conference by all of you bringing your energy, your enthusiasm. So thank you. Thank you up front. And I want to step out of character for a second and express some personal gratitude because I'm really fortunate to be here today. 3 days ago, I didn't think I was going to be here on stage. 3 days ago, I checked into urgent care near my house in Palo Alto, California with 103-degree fever and found out I had pneumonia, which is the best thing to get before a 4,000-person conference. But thanks to the miracle of antibiotics, I am back here, and in case you're wondering, I'm not contagious anymore, but maybe we'll do the elbow bump instead of the high five this week. So I'm so thankful to be here. Welcome to Pulse 2017, and happy anniversary. Some of you have been to many Pulses before. This is our 5th Pulse in a row. It's been an amazing journey to get to where we are today, and Pulse really represents the growth in the customer success community. So happy anniversary. Pulse started way back in 2013 in San Francisco. This is actually a photo from the first Pulse. We had about 300 people there. I don't know how I was in a football helmet doing the Heisman, but that's a whole other story. But it's grown so much over the years, really exciting. And as we went into our 5th year, we decided to take a trip down memory lane. And we decided to say, how can we look back to look forward? And we decided to take the 90s as a great theme for that nostalgia. So we're going to walk down a tour of memory lane, and you can see my 90s themed shoes here with the light ups if you haven't seen them yet. We've been spending a lot of time the last few months at Gainsight looking at the 90s, researching the 90s. For me, I've only listened to 90s radio in my car the last 3 months. You all owe me 3 months of my life back, so I'll get that back later. But the 90s was a great time. I think we all enjoyed the 90s. It was such a perfect time. Amazing, just epic works of movies like Pulp Fiction. Who didn't love Pulp Fiction? And other movies like Phantom Menace with Jar Jar Binks. I still haven't forgiven George Lucas for that. World-changing bands like Nirvana. We all miss Kurt Cobain, I think, right? And other bands like Wilson Phillips. This is Hold On, although I have sung Hold On in my car from time to time. Just game-changing artists like Notorious B.I.G., one of my favorites, and other artists. So the 90s had a lot. It brought us a lot. One of the things the 90s did, though, which ties back to the theme of this conference, is the 90s brought us all together. And for me, it brought my relationship with my wife and made it happen. I met my wife in the mid-90s. That's a picture of us on one of our first dates way back when. And we've been together about 20 years now. That's us on the right. You can see here my lovely wife hasn't changed at all in about 20 years. Me, on the other hand, I've gone through the Obama aging experience during that time frame. Customer success is a little like the presidency, I guess. My wife and I had a very 90s relationship. One of our first dates was actually at a concert called the Lilith Fair. Raise your hand if you went to the Lilith Fair. It was a concert with Sarah McLachlan, Alanis Morissette, and Jewel. If that's not commitment to a dating relationship, I don't know what is. And we danced the Macarena at the wedding, and there's no shame in that, at least not in the 90s. But the 90s was a perfect theme for this conference because when we look back on the 90s, we think it was the peak of sales-oriented culture, where it was all about just getting the initial sale. And this clip is from a very famous movie called Glengarry Glen Ross. Many of you have seen it. It's become kind of the stereotypical movie about sales. It's Alec Baldwin there talking about always be closing, always be closing. And really, the 90s were all about sales being the beginning and end of the story. And obviously, at Pulse 2017, we believe something different. We believe customer success is part of this revenue engine. And we think the 90s are a great way to look back on kind of where we've come from to look forward. So that's why we chose the theme for this conference. So welcome to Pulse 2017. Big round of applause to all of you for being here. Awesome. So Every year at Pulse, it just gets bigger and bigger, and it's really just amazing for us at Gainsight to be able to be hosts of this show. We actually hand out a little different pin every year at Pulse, and we like to do this little exercise to just see how Pulse has grown. So for the few of you that were at Pulse 2013, please stand up now. Let's see who was at Pulse 2013. So you can see the early pioneers in customer success. Round of applause. Now stay standing, stay standing. And now if you're at Pulse 2014, stand up. Let's see how the conference has grown over the years. And if you're at Pulse 2015, stand up. And if you're at Pulse 2016, stand up. So you can see it growing and growing and growing. And then if you were at Pulse 2017, stand up. That's all of you guys, by the way. Amazing, right? So big round of applause for how customer success has grown. This is a chart, if you're new to Pulse, this shows you the growth in customer success and the growth in the community, because Pulse isn't about Gainsight, it's about the customer success community. This year, I think we're about 4,100 people at Pulse. It's just amazing every year to think how much this customer success movement keeps growing. Lots of other things keep growing too. The number of emails we send you to get to Pulse keeps growing pretty radically. I'm sure you enjoy those very much. Our budget for Pulse purchasing changes every year. This is actually our budget this year. We spent 52% of it on POGs, I don't know, and some 20% on Skip It, so that was great. Every year we bring great celebrities to Pulse. So this gives you a little history if you're new to Pulse of all the celebrities that we brought as spokespeople. This year we have some great ones as well. Should be great. For the second year in a row, we're hosting Pulse in Oakland. Big round of applause to the Oakland community. Thanks to Oakland for being such great hosts to us. And in case you don't know, all that awesome food, those breakfast burritos, some of the coffee, a lot of it served by local vendors, and these are some of the vendors here. They're opening up their businesses to us. You know, it's pretty disruptive having a 4,000 person conference. So if you get a chance, please thank them, give them your business, and really appreciate that they're letting us into their community. So thanks to Oakland. And welcome to all of you who've come from so far to be here at Pulse. Obviously, we're here in California, but you've come from 41 states throughout the country to come to Pulse. Lots of different parts of America represented here. And even more interesting, it's 3,500 people, by the way. Even more interesting, you've come from 31 countries all throughout the world. And actually, you can see the list there. There's actually one person here from Turks and Caicos. If I can find you later, we want you to host Pulse 2018, if that's possible. So Pulse 2018, Turks and Caicos, coming soon. So great. And then many of you ask, who's at Pulse? Is this a startup event? Is this a big company event, mid-sized company event? And the answer is it's all of the above. This chart shows you that Pulse is broken out pretty evenly between big companies, mid-size, and small. Welcome to those of you who have brought your entire teams. Round of applause if you brought your teams to Pulse. Let's hear the teams at Pulse. Yeah. I see some great love on social media from the team at Kronos and Red Hat and Cisco, and it's really awesome. People make Pulse a team building event because customer success can be lonely. You need to come together with your team, which is really exciting. And I want to actually take a moment to congratulate the graduates of 2017 Pulse Academy, which is our course on customer success. So stand up if you graduated from Pulse Academy yesterday. Let's give a round of applause to the new graduates of Pulse Academy. Awesome. And thank you to our partners at Success Hackers who helped put that together. Thanks to our amazing speakers. We have hundreds of speakers this year, and just world-renowned speakers, CEOs, venture capitalists, customer success experts. You can see some of the pictures here. You'll hear from them throughout the week. Really, really exciting. And thank you to our sponsors. The sponsors make all this possible, but also they add a lot of value. I think the customer success community requires lots of different pieces to the puzzle. It's not just about customer success. It's about education. It's about services. And I want to thank in particular our top-tier sponsors, Service Rocket and Service Source. Service Rocket is hosting a whole day on education and customer success. Highly encourage you to check it out. And Service Source is hosting a panel on the channel and customer success. So thanks to our sponsors. And thanks to all of you for being here, because you make Pulse happen, so thank you. So to kick things off, I want to introduce Alex Rawson, partner at McKinsey. Alex and I have been working together for the last few months as we've been seeing customer success come up more and more in the boardroom, and as customer success comes together with customer experience. So let me welcome Alex Rawson to the stage. Alex. How you doing, man?
Thanks, Nick.
Good to see you. How you doing?
Likewise. Good, appreciate it.
Awesome.
I will confess, I thought about making a Kramer entrance to the front stage. I spared you guys that.
You could pull off Kramer. I can see that.
I will also observe, I missed the Lilith Fair, but I think
it was awesome.
All we can take from that is you were a very good boyfriend. For a first date, that's outstanding. I'm Alex Rawson, a partner in our Seattle office, and I lead our customer experience practice for tech, media, and telecom. I'm thrilled to be here today. As Nick said, we've been working together on a number of things over the last several months. And I'm thrilled in particular because we see from what we do just a huge opportunity for the folks in this room to make customer success not just a function, but really a quarterback for an end-to-end transformation of your company's customer experience. And customer success can be the starting point for that. Especially in a cloud-delivered world, we all know as the purchase decision-making process gets more complex, as relationships with accounts and users gets more complicated, as digital expectations push the bar higher and higher, the need to deliver an integrated, consistent experience across all the functions in the middle of this page has never been more important. And every single company, at least that we deal with, really struggles with that. To get that right requires a quarterback. Companies do that in different ways, but our view is that customer success can be that quarterback. To be that quarterback, that requires, on the left-hand side, taking a journey-based approach that thinks not just about post-sale support, but actually about the full end-to-end customer journey on whatever matters to your particular customers. It requires dashboarding, measuring, tracking, thinking through the KPIs, and instrumenting along that full journey in a way that touches all these functions on the page. And then it requires, in addition, reaching upstream into product, beginning to collaborate more directly with product teams to actually help rewire and re-architect the product to deliver a better experience, using the feedback loops that you can provide. And it requires grabbing a hold of the best things in digital to help streamline and automate the experience. But again, we think there's just a huge opportunity in front of everybody in this room to do that really, really well. The playbook for how customer success does that, in our view, is very much still being written, and we're excited to help shape that thinking as we go. With that in mind, over the last several months, we've done some research with many of the folks in this room with customer success executives to figure out both some of the opportunities and some of the challenges that you guys are facing in your day-to-day work from an executive perspective. And we're going to have a deeper session at 12:30 today, which is part of why I'm up here, to go through and detail these insights and begin the dialogue with you guys of what we're finding and what you do with it. Just a few highlights, though, to kind of whet the appetite, and then please come join us at 12:30. Our clients ask us really, all the various questions our clients ask us really fall into two categories, right? Number one, how do I get money out of this thing? And that's, I think, been an active debate for a long period of time. Number two, what's it really take to execute and get it right? And so just to share a couple of insights and then more to come at 12:30. Look, where's the money? The good news here is the 95% of folks said there is absolutely, top two box level, a correlation between delivering a great experience and economic value, financial returns. And the 20% figure on the page, they've all said, look, on churn, on usage, on CSAT, that lift is 20% or in some cases higher. These are big numbers. And that's, by the way, not a foregone conclusion, because I think for years there's been some debate about whether this kind of idea is a necessity or something that can drive real dollar value. Great news. People see dollar value. One note of caution, the 10% on the page, there's a blind spot on cost. In our view, this done right can actually deliver all the revenue and all the CSAT, but also drive a lower cost performance. And pay attention to that. So we'll talk more about that at 12:30, but there's a blind spot in here. Nearly 50% of respondents said, we think there's little to no impact on cost from doing this right. Our view is that's short-sighted. What does it take to execute? Again, more at 12:30, but a couple things to highlight. We'll talk a lot about governance and accountability. The companies in the survey that we did who say they have a stronger centralized governance model and accountability model, in many of the metrics we're going to talk about, saw as much as a 2.5x higher lift from getting the end-to-end experience right. Our argument would be that driving some level of centralization and central accountability and governance is a critical underpinning to getting this right. The last thing I'll say, and then we'll see at 12:30, is the 6 to 12 months on the page. What does that mean? 80% of folks said, my dominant metric for customer success is churn. But then when we asked them, all right, how long do you give initiatives to succeed? 40% said less than 6 months. 70% said less than 12 months. That doesn't work, right? If you're going to move the needle on churn, you need a more disciplined approach. You need to give it more time. And I think we'll talk a lot more about this at 12:30. But a big part of the architecture here is figuring out how to stack initiatives and value through time so that it actually pays off continuously as opposed to placing a bet that's 2 years down the line. So I'll pause there. There's a lot more to come. 12:30 in Blanche's Lanai, which is right outside of lunch. Bring your food. We'll keep it informal. But there's a lot more to talk about and a lot of good data in the findings. Just thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Big round of applause to Alex Rawson from McKinsey. Thank you. Awesome. And to keep things going, to talk about where customer success is headed, we like to talk about trends every year in customer success. Let me welcome my partner in crime, Chief Customer Officer of Gainsight, Allison Pickens. Welcome, Allison.
Hi.
What is going on, Allison? How you doing?
It's great. I feel so excited and fortunate to be here with all of you.
Oh, it's really awesome. Great. Well, cool. So every year, you're at Pulse, Allison, we talk about trends happening in customer success. As you remember, 2 years ago, we talked about the trends happening at Pulse 2015. Somehow I ended up in a chef's hat. I have no idea how that happened. But we talked about 5 things that were happening 2 years ago, right? They were tiering customers so that you treated customers differently and segmented your approach, hiring a one-to-many lead to doing more of a tech touch or scalable approach to customer success, hiring an operations person so you have processes and kind of more of a business process approach, focusing on recruiting so you could expand the talent pool, and then really making sure customer success was helping to drive sales. And one thing that's really cool is that we've seen these things turn into reality. So we talk about these trends, and then many of you make them happen. So we did a survey right before this conference in partnership with Harvard Business School, and we asked many of you, how are you doing on each of these dimensions? 80% of you have actually segmented your customer success approach. You have a different approach for different types of customers, different sizes, et cetera. And 70% of you have a one-to-many strategy for customer success through email and things like that. Pretty exciting.
Awesome. Then again, last year at Pulse in 2016, we added 5 additional themes to the list that we noticed that customer success teams were working on. So one of them is that last year, some of the leading customer success teams were focusing on making sure that the adoption that they were driving of their product was actually translating into value for their clients. The second thing was a lot of customer success teams were looking to demonstrate the return on investment in customer success to their executive team and to their board. Third, they were looking to drive new sales in the form of upsell and advocacy. They were looking to align other departments at their company around the success of their customers. And finally, they were doubling down on CSM even in the context of the downturn that we experienced last year. Now, our Harvard Business School study actually showed that we were making progress on a lot of these dimensions, and especially that drive new sales component. So for example, 72% of you said that you had actually created a process for tracking advocates and references, and about 60% of you had a process for tracking upsell and cross-sell leads generated by your CSM. So lots of progress actually last year.
That's super exciting. So let's talk about where we are now. And I think one of the things we wanted to open up with is you've made great progress. I talked to lots of you, and Allison, I know you do as well, and I think most of you are perfectionists. So you say, we're just getting started, we're in the early days, we're just figuring out customer success, but I think sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit. You've actually come a long way as a customer success community, and I think you should be proud of all the accomplishments you've made. So really, really exciting. At the same time, though, I think you're here because you want to get better, and I think you also want to get real, and I think Allison and I both have seen the good and the bad in customer success. We've seen the teams that are expanding, people getting promoted, but we've also seen companies that canceled customer success programs, started and stopped, gave a customer success team like 2 people for like hundreds of thousands of customers and said, good luck, right? And actually JB Wood at TSIA calls that an art project, a customer success art project. I think it's a great term. And so there's some real challenges as well. And I think sometimes customer success can feel like a really long road and a little bit lonely. And look at that guy, he looks pretty lonely. I think that's Chandler actually, yeah, lonely Chandler. So it's an interesting long road, but the great thing is we're all here together, which is exciting. And today what we want to talk about is what's happening in customer success today. We want to use the concept of the network. And right behind us, we have this TV show network. If you remember must-see TV on NBC back in the 90s, and a network brought TV shows together, right? That concept made a lot of sense. We want to bring customer success together. And this year, we want to announce the concept of the Customer Success Network. We think this is what we need to come together as an industry. So we're going to talk to you about what the Customer Success Network means. And one thing we want to announce that we're excited about Gainsight to help fulfill our vision of the Customer Success Network is today we just announced this morning that we raised $52 million of funding led by Lightspeed Venture Partners and Cisco to help us fulfill our vision of the Customer Success Network to help continue this mission of customer success. So let's talk about thank you. We didn't spend it all this morning, though, so we still have most of it. Yeah. Okay,
all on candy and toys, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. So today we're going to walk you through the 6 trends that comprise the Customer Success Network. Trend number 1 is about the network within your company. Now, as Nick mentioned, many of you have come to us and you've said, you know, being in customer success sometimes feels a little bit lonely. It feels like we're on this journey by ourselves. And actually, I think one of the reasons why so many of you are excited to come to Pulse is that you can find kindred spirits who are on the same journey. You've also shared with us sometimes that it can feel like customer success can be kind of a silo within your company. And actually, in talking with some other executives at your companies, actually, it sometimes seems that way to them, too. And you've mentioned to us that it feels critical, mission critical, that you align lots of departments at your company around your customers. Now, the key is actually proving out that business case and proving that your customers truly matter. Now, that business case essentially rests on this simple concept, which is that successful customers generate new leads. Now, specifically, a successful customer can generate 3 new leads. First is a lead for a renewal of that account. Secondly, a lead for expanding that account. And third, leads for new logos when that successful customer advocates on your behalf to prospective customers. Now, what this means is that successful customers can actually help us close the loop on customer acquisition by bringing in more leads. But the reality is when we're doing this, we're not just kind of looping around, actually we're moving on up. And so what that means is that we can start to envision revenue growth as like a helix, where our company size is extending upward as successful customers propel new business. Now, revenue growth in the helix actually requires a different way of organizing our companies. Now, actually, we have to ensure cross-functional alignment across multiple departments, all the way across the customer journey. So this is basically what the network we think should look like within a company. Now, we wanted to see if we could dig up some data to show that actually this model does generate stronger revenue growth. And so in our annual survey that we conducted of hundreds of you guys, actually what it showed was that this sort of cross-functional alignment generates 18 percentage points in improvement in net retention, which is incredible, right? How many of you guys would like 18 percentage points of net retention improvement? That's pretty amazing. Good. So actually, this shows that there is evidence that having a customer success network within your company really pays off.
Great.
Oh, and if you'd like to learn more about this topic, you can check out our blog post on the Chief Revenue Officer's Guide to Customer Success.
Excellent, great. So the second part of a customer success network is it can't get stuck inside your company, right? And this is a kind of an obvious point, but something I think we always have to kind of keep telling ourselves. Our customers are part of customer success. I sometimes feel like in customer success, we're living in the movie Inside Out, where we're talking about the internal view of customer success. We're talking about retention. We're talking about upsell. We're talking about adoption, right? Those things matter, but they're not what the customer thinks of as customer success in most cases. Very few of my customers have ever said, hey, can you upsell me, right? But although we love it when they do that. That's really nice. But what we think needs to happen, what we're seeing you do already, is bring your customers into customer success. What do I mean by that? Well, many of you are defining success plans with your customer openly. What does success mean? Many of you are showing your scorecard, your health data to your customers, your adoption data to your customers. They're part of customer success. They're part of the network. And what we think this allows us to do is actually unify a concept that's been around for a long time with customer success. So for a long time, customer experience has been a term we talk about to measure the customers, kind of how they did, their satisfaction, things like that. Very popular in consumer businesses, hospitality businesses, retail businesses, airlines, well, maybe not airlines, but the other ones, they all care about customer experience. And what we would say in a B2B business is that customer success is the union of your customers' outcomes and their experience. And how do we link those together into the customer network? And that's what we want to show you here. Once you do that, all of your customers are linked together, and then they can become big advocates for you. And one of the great things that we're seeing is we're not the only ones talking about this. Gartner wrote about this recently, about how customer experience and customer success are coming together. Forrester wrote about this, and in fact, we actually have the analyst from Forrester, TJ Keat, talking tomorrow about how customer experience requires customer success. So don't miss that tomorrow, 11:15 in the main stage. So really exciting. If you want to learn more about how you could bring your customers into the Customer Success Network, read our blog post on how we drive advocacy at Gainsight. There you go.
Trend number 3 is about the role of IT in your company. Now, we all know that managing a customer success operation can be really complex. First, you're trying to aggregate all this data across multiple data sources to get that 360-degree view. Then you're trying to design processes to act on that data. Then you're iterating on those processes, you're testing them out. Then you're driving change in your team, managing your team through that difficult change. And ultimately, you're trying to do all of this at scale. Now, that sounds really overwhelming. But actually, you know who's really good at that? IT. They've been doing this for a really long time. So actually, we can learn a lot and be more effective when we partner with IT. And some of the leading customer success teams out there are doing that. For example, I'm going to give a shout out to Concur. They do an amazing job at partnering with their IT department. Actually, looking at them working together looks like, you know, a symphony. They're really in harmony, which is incredible. Now, you know who's good at partnering with IT? Systems integrators. So we're really excited to have as sponsors of Pulse this year, Accenture, Deloitte, and ServiceSource, and they're all Gainsight partners. So thanks to those 3. If you'd like to learn more about this topic, you can check out the blog post that we wrote on why customer success teams should partner with their IT counterparts.
Excellent. The 4th part of a customer success network is the idea that we shouldn't just limit this network to where customer success started in the SaaS world. Customer success, as we talked about last year, is really eating the traditional world. It's going into healthcare, it's going into financial services, it's going into industrials, and this customer success network is going everywhere, which is really, really exciting. And you know, there was an article written in Harvard Business Review last year about the fact that as more companies embed sensors in their products, they're going to become connected companies, and they're going to need customer success. So the customer success network is extending everywhere, which is exciting. And we've got some great sessions on this. We have an amazing inspirational talk by Illumina, a company that's working on the very, very humble goal of curing cancer and world hunger. Illumina folks right there. And how customer success fits into that, which is really amazing. We have Sprint talking about customer success, something they've been doing forever as a telco working on retention and churn. And then GE talking about how customer success fits into the new industrial internet. We've got a whole breakout track for non-tech companies on how they fit into this network. And then we got a whole session on a very practical topic, which is how do you do customer success if you don't have usage data? One of the most common questions we get. And we actually wrote a whole blog post on that topic, so you can read that online as well. Great.
Trend number 5, the customer success network is actually extending to channel partners. So some of the leading customer success teams are thinking about how do we actually work with our partners to generate even more success for our end customers. Now, some of these teams are thinking about, when they're sort of redesigning this vendor-partner relationship, they're thinking about 4 key elements. So the first is shared accountability between vendor and partner for outcomes for clients. The second is developing a shared 360-degree view of data on our customers so we know what's going on. The third is a shared understanding of which customer health metrics are truly important and what the targets should be for those. And then finally, a shared sense of what are the prescribed playbooks along the journey in customer success. Now, if you'd like to see what's possible in the vendor-partner relationship, you can check out a panel that I'm moderating tomorrow with ServiceSource and Cisco. Really excited about that. And you can check out a blog post that we co-authored with Crystal from Cisco OpenDNS. Big thanks to him on aligning with partners on customer success.
So now that you have your customers in your network, your company, you're working with IT, you've got your partners, what does that look like? Well, you zoom out, and you've got all these companies collaborating with their customers all together. That looks like a community, and that looks like Pulse, right? So the customer success network is Pulse, which is really, really exciting. And we think that once you start thinking about your network as a community, you realize the lines blur. The lines blur between where your company stops and your customers start, where your partners stop and your employees start. And it becomes really important to think of the values of your company as values of your community and values of your network. And these are the values that we have at Gainsight. And you can see we bring these to everything we do. And we'd encourage you to do the same thing. Think about your customer success network as a community. And as an example of that, we do something called Pulse Local that we'd love you to all check out. It's in dozens of cities now where Pulse gets taken on the road to places throughout the world.
Awesome. So to sum things up, there's 6 trends we're really looking forward to speaking with you guys over the next week. 1, involve your whole company. 2, include your customers in your definition of customer success. 3, partner with IT. 4, extend to the real world. 5, scale for your partners. And 6, invest in your community. And again, we're really looking forward to discussing these with you guys over the next week. So thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Big round of applause to Allison. Thank you so much. Thank you, Allison. And let me welcome to the stage Lauren Ulrich, Director of Marketing at Gainsight. Welcome, Lauren. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Been working on Pulse a little bit?
Working really hard,
Just
yes.
a little bit, yeah. In case you haven't been to Pulse before, we do treat this like our wedding pretty much every year. Pulse is, we want every detail to go exactly right. Seating, food,
Everything.
make sure people that don't like each other don't sit next to each other, things like that, just kidding. So the Pulse, it really is all about details. I want to share some key logistical details with you in what to expect the next few days. One thing up front, though, is we take feedback really seriously at Pulse. We send survey, not surprisingly, after Pulse. We measure NPS every year. It's been pretty good every year, goes up and down. The year in between was a little dip when we had a little cold atmosphere in our building. But we always try to figure out how we can get better. So Lauren's going to talk about what we want to do better this year at Pulse based on last year.
Right, so it's very important for us to look at the feedback from last year's survey and make sure that we incorporate it into every element of Pulse. So 2 things I want to call out, as I'm sure you've seen, we are heavily investing in the childlike joy infused by the 90s, and also we are hoping that the Wi-Fi this year is a lot better, and you can see a few other key things that we've had our eyes on.
Great. And one of the things we did this year at Pulse, I sent an email to all of you, and it actually was me, and I actually read all the emails. I got 500 responses on how we can make Pulse magical this year. It was amazing for me how many of you are new to Pulse for the first time. Many of you want to meet other people. You want to meet people like you. So thanks for all your great feedback through this email, which was great.
Right, and one thing that we saw in a lot of the emails that people were really eager for is networking with some of their peers. So what we're doing this year is we're bringing back Success Unplugged. It's a track that you can find in Uncle Phil's room later today and tomorrow. And it's essentially some workshop-style sessions that allow for more peer-to-peer networking.
One of the most common things feedback we get at Pulse is you want to go deep. You want to learn real deep topics because you understand the high level. This year at Pulse, we decided to move away from the panel format for the most of the sessions and move to deep dive presentations. So we picked experts on certain topics and we're going to let them go really deep on what's unique about their approach to customer success. So let's walk through kind of what to expect the next couple days. So today, we've got some amazing keynotes. So we've got Gretchen Rubin, I'll talk about her in a bit. Really great topic, talk about habits and happiness. She's a famous TED speaker. We've got Illumina, who I mentioned before, is going to be talking about how customer success fits into their mission. We've got the president of Concur talking about customer success enterprise-wide. We've got Sprint on a panel with Accenture and then GE. In the afternoon, we got some great CEOs. We got the former CEO of DocuSign, now chairman, Keith Kroc, who's always entertaining, guaranteed. We've got the CEO of TSIA talking about where customer success is going, and the CEO of Cloudera, who just went public, talking about how customer success fits into his mission.
And I'll give you guys one more reason to stick around today. We will be giving away tickets to the much sought after Hamilton musical. So in the words of Alexander Hamilton, you're not going to want to throw away your shot at these tickets, so stick around.
Awesome. And then tomorrow, the fun continues. So in the keynotes, we've got Katie Hingle from Adobe. Adobe is one of the poster children for transformation, for really taking a big business and shifting it dramatically. And customer success was a big part of that. We've got Cisco, Scott Brown, talking about the same transformation in Cisco across a huge company. We've got VMware on the beginning of that journey, talking about that in partnership with Deloitte. And we've got Bessemer Venture Partners talking about how customer success is really a core part of the cloud transformation. In the afternoon, I think everyone's going to be here to see Aaron Levy, CEO of Box, who was actually at the first Pulse way back when. We'll have a fun conversation. We've got executives from IBM talking about the transformation around customer success, the CEO of Marketo talking about customer success in a private equity-backed environment, and we're going to close out tomorrow with customer success jeopardy. More to come on that. That'll be fun. And then Thursday, stick around. We've got great content, whether you're a Gainsight customer or you just want to continue the best practice content. So if you want to continue best practice, we've got something called CSM skill building. You can sharpen your skills around EBRs, around negotiations, things like that. We've got partner case study sessions where partners share best practices. And then if you're a Gainsight customer, learn more about the roadmap. If you want to learn about Gainsight, there's a whole session about that as well. And then at the end of the day, we'll close out with a conversation between a CEO of a fast-growing company, Tracy Young, and her board member, and then a conversation on customer success careers and how you can get to the top through customer success. What's this all about?
All right, Nick, I have something to talk to you about.
Okay.
So on Thursday, we're going to close out the conference with a live slime. I'm not kidding. We will be sliming someone. This is a very real thing. You can go to Gainsight HQ's Twitter account and you can actually vote to see who you want to see be slimed. And Nick, fair warning, you are one of our nominees.
I'm actually leaving early, so no.
You're going to have to stay around for that. So
okay.
Make sure you go and vote on our Twitter account. It's going to be every 90s kid's dream.
Okay, all right, that's going to be fun. All right, see somebody be slimed. So besides the keynotes, I think a lot of the deep content comes in the breakout sessions. One of the biggest challenges is which sessions do you go to? And there's so much great content out there. So I'll spend a minute talking about some advice on where to go to. So first of all, the starred sessions are Gainsight related content. Some of you don't want to hear about Gainsight, so stay away from the starred sessions. But if you want to know more about Gainsight, go into the technical stuff, go to those sessions, which is great. We wanted to pick some sessions that we felt really were going to be the main ones if you weren't sure where you're going to go. And these are the 4 bolded here. And we actually have different size rooms throughout Pulse. So we did a poll to figure out which should be the biggest rooms. And these are the 4 biggest sessions. So first of all, foundations and customer experience will take place in this room. And if you're new to customer success or you want more of an executive level view, these are great. It's like VCs, CEOs, executives talking about customer success. CS at scale is our most popular topic. Everyone wants to know how to do customer success at scale. That's going to be in the 2nd biggest room. And then Success Unplugged, which is more of a workshop format. So if you're not sure where to go, those are the 4 ones to check out over the next few days. And there's lots of other great talks like Enterprise Showcase to learn about how big companies are doing customer success, no usage data, what do you do when you don't have usage data? So tons of options out there for you.
So quickly, we wanted to talk about some evening activities. As you'll see, we've got at 6 p.m. a pub crawl going on out in Pulsetown. You can find the details for that event in your mobile app under the evening activities section. And then tomorrow, we have the biggest customer success party of the year. It'll be on the USS Hornet. We are going to be busing people there from outside of the Marriott tomorrow evening, and it will be so amazing. I'm very excited for that.
That sounds awesome. Okay.
Finally. So we have just a quick checklist. Make sure you download the app. If you're ever going to be on social media today, please use our hashtag Pulse2017. Also, we are loading the slides that you are going to be, or for the sessions that you're going to be in, into this bit.ly link, and we'll definitely email that out to every attendee daily. If you need anything, look for somebody in the purple 90210 themed Pulse shirts. And also, we have a support line, which this phone number will be rotating throughout the day in every room. Okay, so now we're going to do a little activity. If you could please pull out your phone and navigate either to slido.com on a browser, or within the mobile app, go to the Slido Q&A section. We're going to do a little bit of a poll. So we're asking the audience today, what is your favorite 90s movie? And I don't want to give anything away, but
What are you voting for here, Lauren?
I voted for Clueless, as if.
Okay, I'm definitely You've Got Mail fan, but I don't know if it's going to actually win. Looks like it's a long shot here.
So essentially, we're going to be using Slido throughout the conference to either be doing some live polls or it'll be our Q&A tool. So if you have any questions in any of the sessions that you are attending, just open up the Q&A section of the app or go to slido.com. Make sure to select whatever room you're in, and then you'll have a really great way to interact with some of the other attendees. You can upvote their questions, and we had a lot of success with that at Pulse Europe, so we wanted to bring it here to you.
Awesome, great. Okay, so one thing we like to do at Pulse every year, the most important thing is all of you. So this is a community. You're going to learn from each other. So we like to start with our inaugural 5th year in a row Pulse Fist Bump. So find a neighbor and fist bump them and tell them you're there for them this week. Woo. There you go. Pulse Fist Bump. Awesome. Woo. Great. Well, thank you, Lauren. Big thanks to Lauren Ulrich. Thank you.
Thank you. Have fun.
Awesome. Great. So we're ready to get started on a high note, but I just have one more thing to frame up, I think, the next couple days. One last comment, and then we're going to turn over to the next speaker. One thing that's kind of personally important to me, because for customer success, I think many of us are in this profession because there's something about it that attracts us. And for me personally, it's this idea that life's too short for adversarial relationships. You know, kind of that old relationship where the vendor wins or the customer loses. We now have this new world where everyone succeeds together. But the reality is in business, there is natural cynicism. You know, there's cynicism from your customers. Maybe they had a bad relationship from a previous vendor. There's cynicism from your team. Maybe they've worked in companies where they weren't treated well. Maybe some of you have been through hard times as well. And so one of the things I wanted to kind of take a brave step here and say, how could we have some vulnerability here at Pulse so we can all build a better community? Because I feel like in business, one of the things that happens is we end up building all this armor around our hearts. Like you're like a real human being in the morning when you wake up, and you go to work and you put on this suit and you become somebody different, right? And I wonder if that's really what we have to be. So I'm going to personally try to show you who I am, and I hope that some of you can do the same throughout this week and open up to each other. So I grew up as a kid, although I'm here on stage and dressed in this snazzy suit, I was like the least popular kid in school, and I had like 0 friends growing up. Was picked on pretty much every day. I loved the academic part of school. Never went to recess, like literally in my entire childhood. So most people look back on childhood and fond memories. For me, there's a lot of kind of dark times. I ate lunch alone pretty much every day growing up, like literally all the way through high school. I tried to find a place where I wouldn't look alone, so I'd go to the computer lab, sometimes eat in the bathroom. Even to this day, I actually always dread the idea of eating lunch alone. I'm one of those weird people who sometimes stares off into the distance and wonders, is this reality real, or is there another reality behind it, which is why I love the movie The Matrix. A little known fact, I sometimes sing alone in the car. Maybe some of you probably know that already. Despite the fact that I'm in a 4,000 person conference on stage, I feel lonely all the time. Really, really, really lonely. We have amazing young kids at home, 11, 8, and 4, and they're just the joy of our life. But every single day, I think about the day when they're going to be gone and grown up, and I don't know how I'm going to get through my life anymore, because I don't know how I'm going to get through, because they bring so much joy. And despite the fact that we're running this company and this movement and all that, honestly, most days I wake up and I feel like a failure. And I know that sounds weird, right? CEO of Gainsight. But I wanted to kind of come to you and say, I've got baggage, and I'm just like everyone else here. And I feel like a lot of you might have the same types of stories. Some of you may have eaten alone growing up, may have been bullied, may not feel successful sometimes. And I feel like we put up our armor around each other, and it prevents us from getting to know each other. So at Pulse this year, I'd love us to all take one step towards being more authentic and more vulnerable with each other. Who's up for some vulnerability this year? So I want to just, in closing, read one thing to inspire us to a great week. My dad, when I was growing up, he had this poem taped to his mirror. It's called Desiderata. Some of you may have read it before. I think it's just a great thing to get started in terms of openness and authenticity. So I'm just going to read you the last few lines of Desiderata. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it's as perennial as the grass. You're a child of the universe no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it's clear to you, have no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. Welcome to Pulse 2017. All of us, we should all know that at Pulse, we're here for each other. Here's to a great conference, everyone. Thank you. Awesome. Great. So to set up the next speaker, you know, that closing was all about how customer success in this community is about being more human. And we wanted to pick somebody to talk about two critical topics we think of in personally driving customer success: your habits and your happiness. So we've got a great speaker lined up, so let's cue the video for our next speaker.